Hello, everybody. So today is my session that I do on Mondays where I pick a topic and I want to share with you a few tips. So today I wanted to talk about networking. I think it's a good time to talk about networking because we are getting towards the end of the year. And as I say in my different workshops, I find that the holiday season is a great time to revive contacts and start networking if you haven't done so already and you're really new to it. So I wanted to give you 3 tips today on how to prepare your networking exercises and going out there and trying to meet new people and increase your network if you have one already. So I share with you tip number 1. So the first thing that I encourage people to do is to find a reason why they want to go out there and network. Because if you don't have a reason, it's going to be a little bit confusing for you to find those places where you should be and where you could find a quality network. Now, I want to separate that from going out there and sending your resume out to everybody, which can be a bit tempting, especially if you're looking for work, is to say, I'm going to network and just send my resume to recruiters, to contacts. That doesn't work very well. Now, on the other side of that, and that's why I called my topic today, pitching or not pitching, there would be some people that tell you who are doing the same work as me, who are also coaches, that would tell you, you need a pitch, you need to prepare a pitch. Now, the thing is with pitching, it's not necessarily something that I would advise, but I'll explain a little bit later why. So the first thing that I encourage people to network for is to get a little bit more familiar with the whole aspect of networking. Because let's face it, a lot of people are very confused about what to say, how to prepare. So there's really stages, and I talk about this also in my workshops, where for me, the stage number 1 is to network, to develop social contacts. That's it, to become familiar maybe with your surroundings. If you're an expat, for example, and you don't know the city yet very well, you don't know the places very well, starting there, networking to create a social network is really step number 1. So if you're shy, if you have never done this before, if you know you need to network to get your objectives attained, but you don't know how to do it, I would strongly suggest to just start being out there social. So, and that's where the type of events there, like going to functions, like networking functions, like going for drinks or those things, it's great just to be social, to say hi to somebody, to present, and that's where you present yourself. And it's very low key because there's nothing really to expect except to meet a few new faces. So going out there to be social is really the first thing. So that's number 1. Once you get a little bit more comfortable with yourself, with the environment, then I would say that's where you can go and network with a real objective, like I want to get a job. And I always try to tell people to make that concrete. What kind of job are you looking for? Because that's going to also determine where you should be going. So what type of work, what type of industry, where would those people be located? And that's when you would shrink a little bit the options. So be very precise in your head, at least, of what type of job you're looking for. Also give yourself a deadline by when you would like to have that achieved. That's going to put a little bit more pressure to go out there and do the work, because let's face it, most human beings, we tend to be a little bit laid back if we don't have a firm schedule. So I use actually the idea of, it's the same as when you do exercise or something like that. You have to be very straightforward and keep up with it. Otherwise, you're not going to get results. So it's the same thing with networking. So that's number 2, is to when you want to get a job. And finally, number 3 is when you want to develop a business. So if you have a business and you need to find sponsors and business partners, and you want to develop your business, then what you need to do is to have an objective on that. So you want to go out to network, but you need to know, same thing, what you're looking for, because you're not going to have the same strategy if you're looking for sponsors than if you're looking for business partners or different things. So you need to be, again, very precise on your objective. What are you trying to achieve with your business? So that's really the beginning part for me when you're working on your networking and building the basis. So the basis is really to build an objective. What are you trying to achieve? So that's number one. So number two then would be, okay, what kind of approach? And this is where I go back to the pitching, which is the topic of today's live. So once you have your bigger objective, then what kind of approach is better? So if you're looking to socialize, it's not the same thing as if you're trying to find business sponsors, for example. It's not going to be the same events that you attend, not the same people. They're not going to be based in the same place. So that's why number one is important to get to number two. So when people contact me and say, where do I network? What's the best place? Well, finding your objective first, and then I would be able to help you with where to go. So if you're looking to socialize, again, any place really can do that. Now, if you say, I'm looking for business sponsors, or I'm looking for a job in marketing within social media, then probably just going for drinks is not going to help you achieve that, even though you could be lucky. But you need to be a bit more targeted so you don't waste time. So where would those people be who work in marketing? What type of events would you find them at? So it's really trying to put two and two together and doing really a survey of where are the marketing people, where are the finance people, so that you can figure out where you need to be. And really, I open up options with both in-person and online type of events, because you can achieve the same things online, really. You can find the go-to people, or you can increase your network by just being online. Really, if I look at the last 3 years, I've been doing mostly networking online. I've gone to very few events for different reasons. I mean, obviously, at some point we couldn't, just simple as that. And now things have opened up, but I'm still not so keen. I went to one recently for entrepreneurship and startups, and I still enjoy them. But I find that I can probably be even more effective online because I can be very targeted. You know, when you go to an event, sometimes it's going to be a lot of people. Sometimes some of them might not exactly be looking for the same things as you. So you're taking the time to actually go somewhere, to attend an event, to talk to a lot of different people. It tends to be quite time consuming. And again, I enjoy going because I think it's great to meet in person, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I find I can probably achieve more online, because online you can target exactly the type of people, the type of places that you need to be engaged with. And then you can always move that to more of an in-person experience. So basically what you want to do, and that's what I'm doing really, is you're going online to narrow down, to go through, online you can be a bit faster. You can, browse through events, browse through, maybe accounts on social media, and find out, niche it a little bit of where do you need to be involved. And then you can narrow down even more. And then maybe at the end you figure out, okay, I need to be in this event this month. I need to talk to these people. And maybe you go down to less than 5. So you're saving a lot of time as if you were to go to events and talk to 100 people. So I find that I've been much more focused online. I waste less time in going to events, just the act of actually going and coming back. So very focused, very much more pinpointed. And I find that I tend to find like-minded people. So when you're online and you're active, and that's why I tell people you need to be semi-active, because if you're not, then nothing is going to happen, obviously. But if you're somewhat active, and I'm not saying to become an influencer, which is another category, but just to be someone who's semi-active online, posting once in a while, maintaining connection online, then you can probably see that you achieve a lot. I know it's a little bit hard to believe, but I am doing it. Actually, it's not, I have done it. I am doing it with clients, and I see the results. Once they start the motion, they see that they are getting replies and they are getting engagement from the network that they want. Because that's the purpose. You don't want any network. You want the network that's relevant to you, to your purpose, and to what you're trying to achieve. So it is maintenance, and it is a little bit of effort, but it pays off, I think, a lot more. Now, in terms of pitching, so in my experience now for many years, I find that people don't respond very well to salesy type of pitches. So if you say, "Hey, I'm in marketing and I do this, and would you like to talk about it?" Or people don't like to be pitched at or sold to so much, if I can use that word. No one is really going to reply so well if they see those kinds of messages. I just saw again yesterday someone in my network sharing the type of messages that he gets, and it's too salesy, it's too direct, And I think people forgot with the online world. I find it's very efficient. I just said it, but if you have to follow still some etiquette. And I find that with the social media, people, it's almost like they threw the etiquette out of the window. They go straight for, okay, I work in marketing and do you have a job in your company? Or, they would be more, I think, direct because they think it's social media and that's cut through the chase type of thing. If you were doing networking 10 years ago and you were going to an event, you would have to introduce yourself first. Maybe you exchange business cards with the person, and there's going to be maybe you cross their path again in another event before you even start engaging about doing something together. So there was this aspect of time was a little bit longer before you actually shared your project or wanting to do business. So relationships took a bit longer to build. And I think now people want immediate gratification, almost like, here's my resume, do you have a job? Or this is what I do as a business, and I think we should work together. You don't even know the person. So my recommendation would be, yes, social media can be very efficient, more efficient than in-person networking, but you have to do it with the right etiquette. So you still need to, and I do this, I work a lot with people who contact me on that, is to manage a little bit the emotion and the expectation. So when you're networking online, there's got to be also this interaction, and it goes both ways. So you can't just spam the person with your resume, for example. That wouldn't be a good idea. So it takes patience, but I think now, and what I'm getting at now with pitching or not pitching, and what's the best approach, is to know yourself, what it is that you're looking for. So if you work in marketing, for example, and you say, what do I do exactly in marketing? So it's more for yourself to define what you're trying to achieve. So if your purpose being a marketer is to help CEO market to the right companies, then you have that in your mind and you wrote it down. And when you go to events and you network online, and it's going to help you find the right people who do this, who want to market to companies. And when you exchange with them, you don't need to pitch. You don't need to say, hey, and I'm a marketer and I help CEOs, market to the right audiences. You don't need to say it, because your social media should be built in such a way that people can immediately know that that's what you're doing. And then you can be a little bit more personal with the individual that you're contacting. So it's really about, if people say, well, where do I start? It's really about building a great profile, because your profile is really, I was on a call actually last Sunday, and the feedback that came out was that your online profile is really your PR in 2022. So if you think about, well, how do I market myself now? It's not about so much the pitching. It's more about build yourself a great social media profile with a lot of information, or as much as you can, so that you don't need to say so much in the end. Now people can view you quickly. So they go on your social media, they see your photo, they see a little bit about, in a few lines, who you are. They can watch your videos, they can read about you. So they have a quick idea of who you are. And that already cuts to the chase, because either people will agree with it or buy into it, so to say, or they won't. And that saves you a lot of that trying to message people type of thing, because if there's nothing in your social media, or you haven't built your profile, then the engagement is a little bit more complicated, or it's going to take more for you to show who you are. So I find that social media can be used in such a way where, for example, as a solopreneur, as a business owner, if I am to hire someone that's going to do my marketing, the first thing I'm going to do is look at their social media, because I want to see if they can do it for themselves. If they can do it for themselves, then they have the credibility to do it for me. But if I see that they haven't done so, then, and I've interviewed people also to find out what it is that they know exactly, because everyone pretends to be an expert in something, but in the end, it's about, well, show me the process. How do you do this? And have you actually achieved to do it for somebody? So that's really how you're going to market yourself. It's more about how is your social media, what do you have on your social media? Do you have proof of concept, I call it, of things that you delivered before that you can say, I've achieved this, so I can do it for you because I have done campaigns on Facebook and I can do it for you now. Or if you're in finance, I have worked for Fortune 500 companies in finance, so I know how to do such and such tasks. And it's funny because sometimes when I work with people, I realize that they haven't really brought out all the things that they've actually done. And I look at their resume or their social media, I'm like, but why didn't you use this in the first, in the beginning of your profile? Because it's huge. So it's almost like people downplay almost all the experiences that they have. And I know I've been told as feedback that I did this myself. So I'm the first one who did this for a long time, where people would interview me, and when I was going through the motions in my interview, I would say, oh yeah, I lived in Los Angeles and I did this, and they're like, you lived in Los Angeles, come on, you actually achieve things. So we tend to downplay almost, like sometimes we go and we look at our careers and we're like, oh yeah, I've been there and I've done that, and we almost forget what we have built. And that happens usually in the mid-career, where maybe we have a few hiccups or things are not going so well, maybe after a while. So now we almost downplay ourselves, where the achievements that we had in our earlier career, it's almost like it doesn't matter so much because now we don't have the success maybe that we had a few years back. So it's almost reconciling with yourself, where you have to give yourself the credit for what you already achieved, because a lot of people didn't. And that's the conversation I have sometimes when I have to remind people of the things that they've done and that they actually count, even though they may have happened 5-10 years ago. It's something that you've achieved, and it should definitely be used as a way to showcase that you have the credibility. So that's important. Is how do you see yourself? And I talk about that at length in my workshops. So how do you view yourself? Do you give yourself the credit for what you achieved? I go through all the motions of building your self-esteem and building your confidence and that's based on what you achieved to some extent. Because you can lean on that to get the self-confidence. How do you draw self-confidence? It's from the things that you did well. So the more things that you do well, the more positive feedback you're giving yourself, and then it gives you the energy to do more. But if you have some negative feedback, maybe you're going through some career difficulties, then you're not getting that positive feedback. So the self-esteem is being hit as well. So it's basically, they go hand in hand. If you don't have the self-esteem built and the credibility that you can, the confidence that you can still achieve things, it's going to be a bit more complicated when you go out and network. So everything is linked in a way. It's almost a full package. It's finding out the great things about you, the positive, what you achieved, packaging that in the right way. And this is where maybe sometimes you need help from someone that has worked more in PR marketing, to package it in a way that people buy into it and say, this is basically the type of person I want to talk to. And you look at people who are doing great on social media, they tend to be people who have packaged themselves in a way that's enticing, or people want to talk to them, including recruiters. So really, it's about building your approach, building your profile, building your self-esteem. And before you do that, the networking efforts are not going to be as productive, because we're in a society now where people check you out. We hear about, they buy into you or they don't buy into it. This thing happens quite quickly, and people judge you very quickly as well, because they either like or don't like. We're really in a black and white type of world now, where you're in or you're out type of thing, which I really don't like myself, because I find that the world is not black and white. It's more grayish. And sometimes, you have to accept that It's not going to be always perfect. So yeah, I think where you need to start is really defining what it is that you want. Where would the networking places be? Find your approach that fits you. And then the third part, which is almost the step again, the step more, is to get results. And getting results is not instantaneous. Sometimes people tell me, so when I work with on networking, people tell me, but I've messaged this person and I don't get a reply. And usually what I tell people is, well, you don't know what's happening on the other side. So don't take a no reply like a rejection. It just means that maybe the person is on holidays, maybe they're busy doing other things. I get replies on LinkedIn sometimes, and I'm not lying when I say this, it's not the purpose. Sometimes I get responses 2-3 months afterwards. Sometimes people send me a reply. I even forgot I messaged them. They're like, oh, I just saw your message now because they were away or they were dealing with some issues. So you never know. So when you're not getting a reply, instead of saying, oh, I'm rejected, think about it as, I don't know what's going on in this person's world, and it's not personal. So that helps already a lot. Now, you have to remember as well, I talk about LinkedIn because I'm streaming now on LinkedIn and YouTube. For LinkedIn, I know we get these messages, these emails, where sometimes they're not very visible. And because they're sent massively, sometimes the structure of the email is also a bit weird, where sometimes it's in a different language. I get messages in different languages I don't even understand. So the emails tend to be a bit complicated. But what I do, and this is really what I do myself and what I would encourage everyone to do, is to start with your network that you already have. So before you go out and say, I need to find new people, I need to network with new people, build up from what you already have, from your strong network. So I'm sure, and I say this in my workshop, I'm sure everybody has got 10 or 15 contacts in their inbox, in their phone, that they're not even reaching out to. So you already start with people you already know. And once you're already working with these people or they're giving you feedback or what have you, then you can go out and find more people. But that's also part of building up your profile. You get the people that know you well, that you can message very easily to give you feedback. And then once you achieve that, it's much easier than to go to other people, because you remember, you reinforce your self-esteem also with the close network. People that are close to you, it's going to be very low key for you. Chances are they're not going to be aggressive. They're not going to reply negatively. You're not putting yourself out there yet. You're doing it with the comfort zone type of network. And they're already going to maybe catch the red flags for you. Say, don't put this on your profile. Or, think about the best friend approach. Your best friend would say, yeah, if I were you, I wouldn't use this photo for Facebook, or I wouldn't say this, or, think about it like that. So if you have your close network, they're going to protect you in terms of what you can and cannot put out there before you go out into the ocean. So, and then your profile will be a little bit what I call cleaned up. So people laugh when I use this word, where I say, did you clean up your Facebook profile? Especially if you're job hunting, because you never know who's going to read what. And once it's online, it's online. So I go through the cleanup phase where, I want people to have great profiles all the way, in every platform. So the cleanup phase is important if you're serious about wanting to get a job, or if you're launching a business or growing your business. You need to make sure everything is lined up and makes sense, especially again for the credibility purposes. So don't go out networking basically if you haven't done the prep work, because it's not going to be so efficient. So practice makes perfect is what I want to say today. No one gets it from the get-go. Communication is an art, and not everyone masters it. So it's something that you have to agree with and say, you know what? I'm not a communication expert. I don't know what looks good on a profile. This is not my thing. Maybe I need to talk to someone who can help me there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because in the end, it's about if you want to be successful in something, you need to talk to people who know, people who have experience, because doing it by yourself can cost you more in terms of, if you contact people and your profile is not really ready, then you might lower the chances of getting a reply, for example. So that's why I never hit the networking phase with clients until we go through all the phases in my program, which is really building up the profile, cleaning up the profile, having the right messages in place. And until this is reached, and I put this in my contract, until this is reached, there's no networking happening because you're not ready. You're just not ready. And then the success, the response rate and the success will crumble because you're not ready. So the right things need to be in place for maximum return on investment. So to save your time, your efforts, so that you can get in touch with the people that you want and build great rapport and be successful, basically. So that's really what I wanted to summarize in a nutshell today. And I think it's great timing now because you've been given, and that's what I want to leave you with, is some final tips that you can immediately put in place. Because this is going to be the holiday seasons. It's a great time to network because people are going to be very open to messages for Christmas, for New Year's. And this is the time when you can send very casual messages, very low key, like Happy New Year. And by the way, how are you doing? How is the job? So it's very casual, but it's going to be very easy to catch up with the network you already have. Remember what I said. So this would be ideal messages to catch up, because what's happening is that, so you start working, you're busy, life happens. And then you realize, well, I haven't really kept in touch with the colleagues that I worked with and people I've met along the way, people from college, etc. So this is the great time to build your list now with the year end, and to actually say, okay, I'm building up my list and I'm going to send messages to all of my contacts from years back, and really see, who responds to me, get a little bit of flavor of who is doing what. And maybe by doing this, you realize, well, some people are in the same path as you right now, because Susie or Joe that you knew from 10 years ago is actually now working for the type of company where you'd like to know more about. And great spirits come together. So chances are, by doing that, you're going to come across people who are going to be great fits for you. So that's why I really insist on this holiday season. I think the year ends when people tend to, it's a time when we question ourselves, like, what do we want to do for next year? What are the projects? It's almost a rejuvenation. I'm not sure of the word, but you rejuvenate, with the year end. It's like you shed the last year and you want to start fresh with the new year. So it's a great time to rekindle, reconnect, or connect for the first time with new people. Maybe also, so you want to really start from there and say, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing or not much with networking, but I want to start somewhere. Let's start with New Year's coming up. Greetings to some people that I know, and greetings to new people that I haven't met and don't know yet. But because of the timing, I think people will be more open during this time to reply and to give me a chance to showcase, maybe a little bit of my skills and how I could be a good fit maybe for a potential job or an opportunity at large. So really, this is my last words. What I wanted to say is networking during the year, and I think it's great timing. Build up your profile. This is important if you want to maximize the chances of connection. And finally, I'm doing a workshop next week, Wednesday next week. It's going to be how to build your profile and how to find a job in Switzerland. So I will post the link below. Make sure you register for this one because I don't do it all the time. And it's really my number one workshop where people learn a lot about the Swiss style resume and the job search in Switzerland. It's very specific. So if you haven't registered, I'll show you the link below, and I will be happy to have you in my workshop. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing an interview. It's going to be about Southeast Asia. So for those of you who are open to maybe opportunities worldwide and you're testing, maybe if you want to do an expatriation or do something abroad. So if you want to become an expat, maybe I have someone who's going to talk about his experience in Southeast Asia. So I hope you can join. It's going to be airing tomorrow in the morning. So I'm really thankful for people who watch this until the end. Feel free to leave a message below. We'll be happy to get your feedback, and I'll talk to you soon.